it's horrible when you're stood in the room and everyone else's children is doing whatever and your child is doing something different.
So my daughter was invited to a birthday party and spent the whole time just organising the ball pit. She wasn't really playing with the other children, wasn't getting involved. She hovers at the edge of every group and she's never quite in. Sometimes she's content with that. Sometimes she asks me, am I annoying? I don't know if I'm grieving the childhood I wanted or if she's genuinely struggling, and I don't know what to do. So Claire, you're an SEN expert, you're founder of the SEN Expert. What advice would you give this mum?
First of all, just to say that is really, really tricky. It's hard to watch your child struggle, especially in a social situation, because you've got a constant direct comparison to the child next to them or the group of children that are playing. It is also very easy to jump from one awkward birthday party to I need to get my child diagnosed with XYZ because that's what the internet is telling me. It sounds like the little girl may have some social communication challenges, may have some anxiety around interacting with others, and that's not to say she necessarily has a special educational need. It might just be that she needs more time to develop those skills. There are easy ways that are not just jumping onto Google and kind of diagnosing via the internet for this mum to help her daughter. So first of all, encourage her to develop self-expression. So she may be lining the balls up in the ball pit and the other kids are doing different things, but that generally might just be what she wants to do at that moment. And it's that kind of awful comparison that's making the mum feel bad. Mum could support her by observing and offering her choices. So, oh, that's a really fun game that you've made up there. I don't know. I like how you've made stripes with the balls. It sounds ridiculous, isn't it? Why don't you go and tell one of your friends that they could come and play a game with you where they collect all the red balls or all the blue balls or something? So you're observing what they're doing and giving them a choice to step out of it and involve somebody else, but also making them fully aware and happy that what they're doing is actually a legitimate form of play, because it is. And also, if you wanted to go a little bit deeper, you could think about taking her or taking that support out of such an intense situation. Birthday parties, I go to kids' birthday parties and I sit in the corner and think, oh God, this is overwhelming. So if you're, I don't know, 5 and you're sat there trying to navigate a social situation in a room full of everyone screaming, it's hardcore. So supportive play dates at home can be really nice. So, I don't know, I'm making up names now. Arthur was at the birthday party on Saturday when you were lining up the balls. Should we ask him to come round and we could play with the ball pit in the living room? So making that social scenario much smaller to give her the confidence to maybe say to the little boy, Arthur, I've just made up, why don't we line all the balls up in different colours? Why don't you go and hide the balls in the living room and I'll go and find them? Or something like that. So you're taking out the huge amount of kind of group social pressure and making it into a kind of one-on-one scenario. And if you are still concerned and you wanted to go down that professional guidance route, you can go to a GP. They can refer you to a community paediatrician. They're amazing. They kind of do umbrella assessments of all different types of need. It might be that they want to look at her social communication skills. They want to look at her speech and language. Potentially it's an anxiety around, the physical act of speaking as opposed to understanding social cues. Or you can go to school and ask your school Senko as well to get their opinion.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head for me there. Like the whole jumping quickly to my child's not doing what everyone else is doing. Oh my God, they must be autistic, ADHD, must be struggling in some way. Sometimes it can be they are 5, they are 6, they are, they haven't had that exposure socially. They haven't been in those situations to be able to practice those skills, right? That's a huge thing to kind of remember, that sometimes it is just being 7.
It might just be she doesn't like the kids at the party and she doesn't want to play with them. So let her play with the balls because she thinks all the other kids are really annoying and they're the annoying ones. But I really feel for the mum, because it's horrible when you're stood in the room and everyone else's children is doing whatever and your child is doing something different. But there's no negativity and difference. It might just be that she's not interested in the really loud, screamy game that they're doing, and actually that's a much more rewarding activity for her in that particular moment.
There's exactly that point, isn't there, that they are their own little personality, they are their own little person, and it could just be like, this isn't my scene, it's a bit full on. Because you're right, like I've been to birthday parties as well, and I'm like coming away like I need to just like regulate and just go and sit somewhere quiet. So sometimes it could just be that, it's not necessarily, because I feel sometimes there's a lot of noise around special educational needs, and people are wanting to be able to support their child quite quickly as soon as they see that they might be struggling with something. But sometimes we're struggling because we're humans and we're just trying to figure it out.
And also, I think that the jump to diagnosis is, a knee-jerk reaction. It's something that parents do because they're worried about, oh my God, they could be autistic. Oh my God, they could have X, Y, Z. Although it sounds a bit silly at the moment to talk about the strengths of the SEN system in the UK at the moment, one of the key strengths within it is that our laws don't require children to have a diagnosis to access support. You just have to have a presentation of need. So even if the little girl we're talking about ended up being considered as potentially being autistic, she wouldn't not be able to access support because she hasn't got a diagnosis. Parents could choose not to go down a diagnosis route at all. The presentation of need is what gets you the help. I'm not saying that she is, needing the help, but just as kind of a safety net, I suppose, to parents. It isn't that you have to go and get expensive diagnoses to get assistance. Just a presentation of need will get the foot in the door of getting that sorted.
So it's that presentation of need, but also the communicating that, saying, I've noticed my child struggles with X, struggles with Y, struggles with Z. Have you noticed that? Like going back to the school and checking if they've seen anything like that?
Yeah, 100%. I used to work with quite a sort of broad range of secondary schools in London, and we used to have a lot of teachers coming saying, oh, I think so-and-so's got X, Y, Z. Now that's nice. Where's your psychology degree? It's interesting you've diagnosed these children with all this stuff. But what I used to say to the teachers was, that's great, you've observed something, and I would give them a form and I'd say, go and observe them for 6 weeks, and then you come back in 6 weeks and you show me the evidence of XYZ need. And I think sometimes that's useful for parents to do as well, because it's the panic. It's like, oh God, something isn't quite right, I'm going to jump to the most extreme solution. Whereas if you are kind of quietly observing for 6 weeks, she might end up going to 6 birthday parties, this poor child, and you might have 6 different experiences. So it's really important, as you say, to sort of sit back and look, as opposed to jumping on Google and looking for the worst case scenario.
Absolutely, because there is all that noise, and to be able to cut through it and, like you say, take the time. I think you're right, like we are quick as a generation, we are quick to go and figure it out for ourselves or carry it forward, rather than just taking the time to watch and just understand your child's personality as well as the situations that they're in and how they're dealing with it. Because I don't know about you, I feel like we adultize a lot of it. And I think you said it earlier when you said she might just not like these kids, and that's okay too.
Yes, no, 100%. And play comes in all sorts of different forms. Children, until they're about 6 or 7 years old, don't actually want to have play that involves a lot of interaction. They parallel play, so they'll be, I don't know, out in the school playground, both pushing around a little bike or something, but they won't be like, oh, I love your bike, that's a great bike, look at those wheels. They're just playing the same thing next to each other. And we as adults observe that and think, oh, look, they're playing so nicely, they must be really good friends. But they're not, they're just doing the same thing at the same time, sort of next to each other. So it's really important, I think, for this mum to have a period of like watchful waiting. So you're not thinking something awful has happened and you've got to jump to diagnosis, but you are maybe being a bit more aware of certain social situations. Oh, well, this is a time where I'm going to sit back at the party and just look and see what she does.
Yeah, because there is that element of othering and differing that can easily come with parenting. You said it at the beginning, it easily comes as soon as they're sat next to other kids. You're like, oh, they're taller, oh, they can hold a pen, oh, they can, and you instantly start comparing, don't you?
No, definitely. My daughter's just started in reception, and she is in a class with 7 kids that went to her nursery, and you know, they're her friends as much as friends happen when you're 5. And I do exactly the same. I'm like, oh, well, why have they got that homework and you've got this homework? Or what did you do at school? Or how many silly little stars did you get? It's us projecting onto them, whereas she's just had a nice time at school and she doesn't really care what happened with stars or homework or pens.
Yeah, 100%. And it's so true. Like, we do project.
My point is that you need to watchfully wait and look at the child in a specific situation, as opposed to going to the internet and letting that influence your view, or projecting your own anxieties, either as a parent or as, a 13-year-old teenager from 1998 or whatever, onto the situation, and sort of take a step back and observe and see what you find, because it might be something very different to what you originally thought when you were watching your daughter at the party in the ball pit and getting worried.
You mentioned earlier 6 weeks. Would that be your kind of like nice timeline?
I always say 6 weeks because it fits nicely into a school half term. And when you're working with children with potential special educational needs, the best thing you can do is work collaboratively with all different stakeholders. So that can be schools, if it needs to be, professionals, again, if it needs to be health or social care. And if you work on a 6-week timetable, that's what the timetable, my teacher speak, that's what the school is going to be doing. So when you are a SENCO, say, or a teacher in a school and you're planning provision for a child, you will use a system called a plan, do, review cycle, and that tends to work on a half term or full term period of time. So you plan something that you're going to do different to hopefully have impact and improve the level of progress. You do it and then you review it. So if you're in that kind of same 6-week cycle as a parent at home, when you go to school and have meetings, you're already armed with 6 weeks worth of notes to say, well, I saw this on this day, what happened in the classroom, oh, that's very interesting, rather than going into a school meeting feeling unprepared and panicked because, again, reverting back to your inner child, the last time you were probably in a school was when you were a student yourself, and that can be very overwhelming and a really quite odd feeling.
Oh my God, it's so good to hear someone else say that, because I feel like I go back to 8-year-old Steph as soon as I'm in front of the head teacher. So that's a really honest observation, and it can be for parents to feel overwhelmed when they're trying to advocate. So having that whole knowledge is power, that kind of thing to hand.
Even it sounds really trivial, but I say it to the young people that we work with, having something to hold in your hand makes you feel powerful. So if you've got a notebook that's got 6 weeks worth of observations, even if you're feeling nervous or you stumble over your words or whatever, you can hold something that's giving you that kind of sensory feedback and then open it up, and there's a ton of information you can use to be your next point if you feel like your kind of words are falling out your ears and you're not remembering what you wanted to say.
That's a really good idea.
I've been Steph Lowe for Netmums, and that was Claire Walley, our expert on this week's Forum Friday. If you've got a dilemma, drop it below and it could be next week's episode. Tune in next Friday.